Strategizing for the first time was in the year 2008 when I was in Enugu. And for some good reason, we met and then struck friendship. And Your Excellency, you remember all the dates that we have to travel from Enugu to Oka, and sometimes we meet you in the office before we go to the government house. We'll have either dinner or lunch together. And Nigeria was so good then.
Peter Obi has refused to leave the scene. He has refused to simply give up. He's always there in people's faces. They say he lost the election and told him to go to court. He went to court and the court did abracadabra. He said, okay, let me become the main opposition. And he's always there in people's faces trying to change their lives. It's not by palliatives. Giving people food is not sustainable. It is better to give them jobs, teach them how to feed themselves, and they will sustain themselves. What Peter Obi is doing, he calls it thank you tour. He has moved from Lagos to Niger State, to Nasarawa, to Abuja, and many places. He has continued to change people's lives, especially this time of hardship. The fact that people are living in poverty doesn't mean that all of them are unemployed. No, there are many people still employed, but it's just that their salaries have become worthless because of the devaluation of the naira. There's food inflation, there's high cost of transportation, everything is over the roof. So giving people food as palliatives don't just cut it. How do you improve the situation without giving them food as palliatives? By reducing the cost of services. Imagine if the cost of transportation is reduced by half. That will increase the value of the money at hand, or maybe allow them to have more savings which they can use to buy other things or spend on other services. The more people have money, they have disposable income, the more they will spend it and the more the economy booms. So if someone has a monthly expenditure of about 50,000 naira and the person earns 30,000 naira per month, that means the person is living in a cycle. He borrows to spend before he receives his salary and he ends up repaying the loan. The cycle continues. But imagine if the cost of services are cut down. That will mean that he might not need to borrow before he earns the salary. And that will mean that he will have additional savings, maybe add up to pay his house rent or pay for the school fees of his children and all that. So this is exactly what Peter Obi is doing. He's not giving people money. Drilling a borehole in a community will save people some money. People who buy water on a daily basis, they wouldn't need to pay for the water again. They will fetch that water for free. So this is somehow a little bit sustainable. It might be in pennies, but at least it will have an effect in the larger community, while at the same time giving Peter Obi the required publicity. So it's a win-win situation. Instead of giving people money, how much are you going to give a multitude of persons? How much can actually be enough for one person? So all these palliatives are just waste of money. It's better to build something that people can rely on, something that can help them to save, even if it's 1,000 naira per week. It's better than giving them rice. If they finish eating the rice, you have to give them again. If they require beans, you have to give them again. It's simply not sustainable.
People should stop wasting and wasting. Today, Madam, they've been looking for a borehole for 30 years. It will not cost the government more than 2-3 million to do a borehole. So why haven't they done it for 30 years? Yes, we're wasting billions every day. That shows care is right.
Now, let's get back to how Peter Obi used this same strategy when he contested for the governorship election in Anambra State in the mid-2000s. Peter Obi actually started campaigning nearly 2 years before the election. He had posters in every nook and cranny in Anambra State. People were actually mocking him. They were saying, this one thinks he's going anywhere. Who is he? He has not held any position before. He wants to be governor. But it didn't stop him from putting himself in front of people. He had all sorts of posters on many subjects. You see one, security. He will list what he will do, the solution to solve security. You see another one, education. He will list what he will do. So he put himself in front of people every day. People were discussing him. Even if it was negative, people were always saying, hey, this man is going nowhere. No one knows him. He's new to Anambra politics. You know, politicians at the time, the mentality was quite different. They always felt that before you must contest anything in politics, that you must have paid your dues. You must have one sort of godfather or the other. Either you've been a local government chairman or you've been a political appointee. You know, the mentality was quite different. In the end, Peter Obi didn't win that election based on his efforts. It was because of the protest vote against PDP. Actually, at the time, Anambra had a lot of political godfathers. Emeka was there, the Oba brothers were there, they were seriously connected to Obasanjo, and there was the governor, the then incumbent governor, Chinwoke Mbadinuju, who was interested in recontesting the election in 2003. So all these Obi battled all of them, not just by his efforts alone, like already said. The protest vote was as a result of the imposition of the candidate by Obasanjo and PDP at the time. Despite the fact that Alex Ekwueme was from Anambra State, he was among the founders of PDP, the convener of G34 that confronted Abacha before his demise. Alex Ekwueme contested the PDP presidential primaries in Jos against Obasanjo. After he lost, Obasanjo offered him the Senate presidency, which he refused based on principle. After being number 2 man in 1979, he wouldn't go back to number 3 20 years later. Remember that when the military struck in 1984 against the civilian government of Shehu Shagari, out of all the politicians the military arrested at the time to probe them and recover funds from them, it was only Ekwueme that the committee said no, that he didn't steal any money. In fact, that he became poorer as a result of not taking care of his business. It was a pity that Buhari continued detaining him despite the revelation. Moving forward to Obasanjo trying to impose a candidate in the mid-2000s in Anambra State, many felt insulted. They questioned why Obasanjo wanted to impose a candidate in Anambra State. Despite a statesman like Ekwueme being from Anambra State, Obasanjo should have at least respected him and said, okay, this man is from Anambra State, is an elder statesman, one of the founders of PDP, let me just remove my hand from Anambra matter. He should have done that, but he wanted to impose a candidate that would hold the position for Andy Oba. Andy Oba was serving him at the time as an aide, one of the kitchen cabinet members. So Anambra people felt insulted. That was why at the late hour, remember that Chris Ngige was named the governorship candidate of the PDP merely 3 weeks before the election. So Anambra people said no, Obasanjo cannot determine the candidate of the PDP in Anambra State. That was why they moved en masse into ABGA. ABGA was newly formed at the time, and Peter Obi wasn't even in ABGA at the time also, but when he sensed what was happening, he quickly moved to ABGA. By the time he moved to ABGA, ABGA had already finished conducting their primaries. They already had a governorship candidate. But when he decamped, Tekwas Okorie, the founder of ABGA, and Ojukwu somehow gave him the candidacy. This forced the winner of the primaries in ABGA, that's before Peter Obi came in, to move to ANPP. He became the deputy governorship candidate of the ANPP. So that was how Peter Obi benefited from the protest vote and won the election with a landslide. But because of the impunity of the time, there was so much rigging. They didn't believe votes counted. So they had to declare Chris Ngige, and Peter Obi moved to court. The rest is history. So looking at what Peter Obi is currently doing across the country, he's putting himself in front of people's faces. People are seeing him whether they like it or not. He's everywhere. And he will continue moving like that till the next election. They are talking about a merger. There has been rumors of a merger from PDP side, from everywhere. There's serious talk of merger. Even the other day, they said that El Rufai went to SDP headquarters in Abuja. All politicians are making moves in preparation for 2027. So whether the merger will work, they already know that Peter Obi pulls the crowd. He was able to mobilize millions of votes. Merely 9 months he moved to Labour Party. No politician has ever done that in Nigeria. So they know that wherever he is, he will continue to pull that crowd. In fact, right now, he's the beautiful bride going forward. That's why APC people have been wooing him to come and join Tinubu to bring his ideas to develop the country. All these are efforts to try and reduce his popularity, because you cannot change anything in government if you don't have the power. If you don't have the power to implement policy, you are just a mere advisor. If you advise, they will just throw it away. They won't do it. So despite all the rigging plans they have for 2027, this man hasn't given up. He's everywhere, and he will continue being everywhere till 2027. No one knows where Atiku is. Maybe he has returned to Dubai. He is the only person that is visible everywhere, always responding to the government, always playing the role of the opposition. So 2027, here we come. Thanks for watching.
And I know there will be other things coming from the big men who are here. But for us, from now, your education, tuition, accommodation, feeding, till you graduate, will be taken care of by the base university. Thank you. I know other